What is it going to take for you to lead more with your heart this year? Now, in this episode, we're going to ask that question. We're going to talk about why it's important. We're going to talk a little bit about the future of the Meaningful Revolution podcast, just the things that are coming down the pipe, and a little bit what's going on. And so let's get into the episode. Hey everyone, this is Shawn Buttner, your certified high performance coach and host of the Meaningful Revolution podcast. And this show hopes to inspire you to follow your heart more, to really get into those meaningful pursuits, to have an impact on your family, on your communities, on your organizations, and in your own life. And as I'm thinking through this as your host, I have a story to share with you. I had great plans at the end of 2023 to take 2 weeks to really focus in on rethinking some things on the podcast, trying to think of how I want this year to go out. I ran a personal meaningful revolution challenge at the new year. And since out of having resolutions, we had these grand ways we wanted to dramatically transform our lives. And into running that challenge, I ate up all the time to do planning. So this week, this episode's dropping a little bit later. I had recorded a version of it at 5:30 in the morning this morning, trying to get this right, and then realized after doing some editing, there was no caffeine in my body at the time, and it showed. And so I didn't want to put that out into the world with you or for you, because I really wanted to make sure that this is something that's coherent, but also adds a little bit of value, even though it's more of just a status of the podcast. So that's a little bit of the behind the scenes that I wanted to share with you. This year, this week, as I'm doing that reflection work, that planning work, trying to think what is going to really make this feel more meaningful for me, how I can make this a really meaningful revolution in this episode or a podcast. I wanted to share some things, right? Just to give you a status update of as I'm thinking of things. Everything I say after this point is subject to change. It's subject to be modified. It might not come out exactly the way that I'm explaining it, and things might get shuffled around because there's a lot going on always. And part of the trick of having a plan is that it's valuable to know what to do when certain situations come up. But as soon as you start to get out in the real world, it all can go sideways, right? The best made plans often don't get implemented at all because it's not the real situation you encounter out in the world. Oh, okay. So why does this show mean so much to me? The personal meaningful revolution to me is started out in 2022 as a way to network with people. As an introvert, as someone that it takes a little bit for me to reach out and to keep up with people, this show has served as a vehicle to reach out to people that I admire or friends that I know have amazing ideas and missions and progress, and to do something with them to create something amazing. And that's been the podcast up until this point. And then when people couldn't meet, testing out doing solo episodes and taking a look at the analytics and just trying to get my head wrapped around what makes a great podcast, what makes this different for you. And again, I hope this podcast is the space for you when you want a little bit of inspiration in your life, in your career, in your habits, and how you're showing up in the world. And I hope it's helping you create and align your life to the things that mostly matter to you, or matter the most to you, right? That's a mouthful of words, but that's where the idea started, and it's morphed into this other thing. And a lot of times when you are starting something new, you're trying to figure out what works, what doesn't work, what lights you up, what's really exciting. And I have to say, for the most part, the podcast has been a really net positive energy into my life. And I hope you hear that. I hope you feel that. And I hope you, as we continue to grow, that continues to be the focus. And that's on me. Something I think we dropped is actively challenging or actively talking about how you can show up in your life and have more purpose and more meaning, more significance, more impact, more joy, more confidence. The things that when you are living your dramatic transformation, your meaningful revolution, you feel and experience out in the world. So, one of the things that I'm focusing on this next year is to focus on that, and particularly on this one question, and that is, if you were to lead with your heart more this year, what would it take? What do you need to do? What would that mean? How would that look for in your life if you started that business helping and serving the people that you really wanted to? Or how would your life change if you're doing more of the things you loved every day? And how would you lead better? How would the kids look up to you? How would your teammates look up to you? How would the people in your community look up to you? Because you've stepped into your heart and you stepped into the thing that lights you up and gets you fired up. That's really what we're all about today. I ask you that question. What would it take for you to lead with your heart more this year? And what would that look like? And if you're driving, take a listen, reflect on that. If you're not driving or not doing something dangerous where you can pause right now and do a couple of minutes of reflection, go do that. Get into action, get into the space of imagining again, of dreaming big again, of really thinking about what is going to have the most impact and meaning and authentic action in your life this week, this year, this month, all of the time. And I think that'll serve you. In service to that, and really wanting to get to know you guys more as listeners, I would love to do a couple more things for you. Other things that I have in the planning stages is I want to do maybe a monthly live episode where we can go over a particular topic and then hear from you, get your questions, maybe do a little bit of coaching if that works. I don't have the format quite figured out right now, but I want to hear from you. I want to see your face. I want to interact with you in a small group because I'm introverted, of course, but I'm kidding. However it works out. But yeah, I want to try and play with that format of adding a live monthly episode, maybe starting out and maybe doing a test for a couple months. So stay tuned for that. I also have been thinking about separating the solo episodes from the interviews and really focusing on interviewing people that I think are going to be more impactful or more focused on what I'm interested in, right? So I've had a lot of amazing guests. And if you've been a guest on the show and you're listening, I am so grateful for you showing up and sharing your wisdom. I can't think of anyone that's been on the show and I'm like, I don't think they should have been here. Everyone has had something great to contribute, something I've learned from. There have been a couple of times where I'm like, I'm not sure if how this fits into what I'm doing here, but I followed the premise of the show, which is to interview people that nerd out about their thing to help inspire others to follow suit. And I think we've remained true to that. But with that said, I think separating solo interviews and having that maybe as like a separate sideshow. I don't know how you do that on a podcast. Like on YouTube, it'd be a different like playlist or a different series. Now, it's all going to be under Meaningful Revolution. You'll still come here, but maybe it's going to be Tuesdays or interviews, and then every week on Thursday is a solo episode based on what you guys in the community have been talking about or informing me. Which reminds me to bring up this next idea that I've had, and that is to actually have a community site for you all to gather. And the reason why I haven't had a community site here, it's been on my to-do list for half a year, probably longer than half a year, and I can't decide where to put the dang thing. Should I do it on Facebook? But maybe not. Should I do it on my website? But then you have to log in, and that's extra steps, and it's another app you have to manage. I'm working through that, but that will be live at the later end of this month. So just sharing my thoughts through that. So that's what's going on in the podcast. This is a very quick update. Like I said, I've been focusing on imagining and trying to make some solid plans and get some momentum behind some of these ideas to help connect with you more. And then also I get to challenge you. What is it going to take for you to lead more with your heart this year? I think that's going to be a very important question as we start dealing more with the implications of AI out in the world and how that changes everything, right? How do we keep our humanity in the things that we touch, right? You can make an AI song, but does it still have that human thumbprint? I don't know. It's a philosophical question, and I hope to be exploring that a bit more this year just because it's something I'm interested in. It's something I'm nerding out about right now in my business, and would love to take you guys along the journey with me on that also. So, what is it going to take for you to lead with heart more this year? I'm just going to say it over and over again. You're going to get sick of me saying it, but I think it will serve you in this new year as we move forward. Thank you for being here and listening. Again, I love doing the show. I nerd out about this, and so I want to do a better job for you on inspiring you to take action, to follow your dreams, your pursuits, those meaningful actions in your life. And we'll see you in the next episode of the Meaningful Revolution podcast.